I was incredibly inspired by my dad's spirit during his cancer journey. But the truth is, he was getting me ready. Welcome to Spirit and Truth. I got my homie, my guy, the man who plugs me in, Mr. James Caldwell,
Hey, hey, hey.
from Music Entertainment Group, and I'm honored to have you, man. I James and I have a bit of history, and needless to say, some symmetry going on here, and I'm excited to have this conversation. Um,
Wonderful.
I When I was first diagnosed with prostate cancer, it was interesting because I didn't really, well, I thought that I didn't really know anybody else who was going through this or had gone through it or anything like that. And then I went, wait a minute. When I was doing the Georgia, what was it? The GMIA,
Yep.
um, Georgia Music Industry Association.
Hmm.
Um, I remember James like having like this hot flash thing and all of this stuff. And I was like, that's what that was. And, I guess because I didn't have any personal association with it, it didn't quite register with me then.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden I was like, it was like a slap in the face. It's like, bro, you know someone and he's immediately accessible. Call James. So man, I don't want to say, thank you for going through this before me, but thank you for going through this before me so that we could be actually sitting here today and having this conversation, that I'm sure is going to be very beneficial to other brothers, other people. I had a conversation with Chris Bennett from Zero, and he really kind of addressed this properly.
Hmm.
This is going to bless other people with prostate issues
Right.
as well. And I
Right.
want to I want to make
And
sure I
and
say that appropriately.
and hopefully inspire them to embrace the journey because once you're on it, you're on it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
And I believe that how you embrace it will ultimately help you mentally be able to deal with all those factors that we don't necessarily even think about as men and brothers.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah, so thank you for having me, man.
Oh,
I remember that
awesome.
conversation. I was at Northside High School, and I think we were getting ready to do a talent show.
Hmm.
And of course, I'm pretty sure we were like, "Hey, Kipper, can you come judge one of our talent shows?"
Right, right.
At the time, and then we had that conversation. I stood right there in the hallway,
Yeah, yeah,
and we talked about it. And one of the things that we don't like to do is talk about stuff, especially, healthcare issues. We're too manly, we're too strong to have the kinds of conversations that you have to have if you're going to go through prostate cancer.
yes,
It's not
yes.
a manly issue to have to talk about, so to speak, but you really need to talk to people who have gone through it or are going through it. Because, like I said, like I told you on that date, I wish that I had spoken with someone uh prior to, other than my care team, that had gone through it to help me understand, what I was about to go through.
Sure, sure. Um, so that's like I wanted to let's like start at the beginning, I guess.
Yeah.
And Diagnosis. um, I know for me, uh, because I had this history with my dad,
Mm,
um, and my dad had colon cancer back in, I want to say, like late 90s. Um, and then I think they took out part of his colon. My dad was an avid golfer.
mm,
So I mean, he's very physical, very active, all of, and so that kind of shocked him. He was like, "Oh, great, this is wonderful." So got rid of it, and he was good. And then it showed up in his bladder.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of treatment that had to happen with that. I think he did like a some sort of seed treatment thing, like 3 or 4 different times, but they
Mm-hmm.
finally got rid of it. Um,
Wow.
and so he was good, still playing golf. Then it showed up in a kidney, and they removed a kidney. And so he had one kidney for years. He was still fine, still playing golf, still doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And that's when it showed up in his prostate. Uh, and So he called, he was still in California. We were had since moved to Georgia. And he was like, listen, I think I want to be closer to you guys because this is starting to get kind of, a little weird. And I want to be closer to my family. His former wife had passed away and he was basically in California by himself. So he came here. Um, and his oncologist here decided that he wanted to do this genetic testing and find out why my dad was getting these different cancers. It wasn't metastasizing, it was just showing up in these other
Mm.
places.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so he did this genetic testing and found out that what my dad had is called Lynch syndrome. It is a defective gene that allows for all of these different specific cancers. And again, the way that they explain it is every human body has cancer. Every single human body has cancer, but the
Right.
healthy human body response is to just keep it at bay and it never shows, it never appears, right?
Right.
But this particular defective gene basically opens the door, or as my dad used to say, swings the gate open and says, right this way.
Mm.
And so for us, and I've since tested positive for it as well, but as I said, for us, it is about early detection, frequent checks, because if you catch it early, you can do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's dormant and you don't know, and then it just starts to do its cancer thing. And so at that point my dad had they had found out that he had something in his esophagus that they couldn't really treat other than to do chemo, because of prior surgeries and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of what ended, kind of took his life
Mm.
in 2014. So he stayed on me, Kip, you got to take the test, you got to take the test. I didn't take the test till 2019,
Mm-hmm.
tested positive. And at that point, I'm like, I shied away from the whole prostate exam thing. And I don't know why my PSA, however, was not on my list of, like in my regular physical exam. Um,
Mm.
and
Well,
so,
it's probably, it's much easier for PSA tests now. The testing process is much more simplified now than it
yeah, oh,
was
yeah, absolutely.
than what we typically had to go through.
Well, yeah, and so, but to your point, I kept pushing it away. You know what I mean? And so, and then when I finally did do the PSA test, just the blood test,
Right.
the prostate specific antigen. For those of you who wonder what PSA is, it's not a public service announcement. But my PSA was 20. And so knowing that information about being 4 or under, and finding out now that it should be actually 2 or under. um
Mm.
that my urologist at that point, who was a phenomenal young Nigerian woman, Dr. Itunu Orojo, she scheduled an MRI and the biopsy immediately.
Before we dive deeper, here's a quick personal update from Kipper. This is a voice memo he recorded right after receiving his MRI results. He mentions a PI RADS 4 lesion and the next steps his care team recommended. We'll come back to the conversation with James right after this.
Hey, so I think the last time we talked, I was telling you that my PSA numbers came back high, and the urologist, um, Dr. Orojo, wanted to have another test run to confirm, and we did, and they were high again. So her course of action was to schedule an MRI and do a biopsy to find out if, in fact, there is something going on with my prostate. And so we got the results back from the MRI. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on television, but um, it does say here on the page two that there is a lesion, um, 0.9 by 0.9 centimeters, location, the peripheral zone base at 7 or 8 o'clock. Tells you where it is and all of that. And then it says PI RADS 4, Pi RADS 4, or something like that. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I went and I looked it up because I don't know what that means, right? So looked it up, and it means that there could be, does not have to be. Where is PRADS 4? PRAD score simply explained to biopsy or not to biopsy. PRADS 4, high risk, clinically significant cancer is likely to be present, is what it says. So that's what that says for that PIRADS, I guess you say. I don't know what it says or whatever. But so we are scheduled to see the urologist on Monday, April 11th. April 11th, yes. So we will find out more then. But I'm just letting you know. All right. Thanks for going through the journey with me. All right. Love you. Bye. So then we went immediately into action. And I mean, just the swirl of emotion at that point.
Gosh, that was 2019.
2019, when I took the test, it was early 22 when I finally got those numbers. So it's only been 2 years.
So what took in that transition period, what took so long for you to go from, 21 to something that was more serious that you had to begin treatment?
Well, when it got, like I said, I tested, it must have been like February 22
Mm-hmm.
was when I, when the test started. Um there wasn't really, there was nothing. I mean, we talked about a treatment plan. She said, we also had to do the bone scan after that, and she said, now if the bone scan comes back that that the cancer is localized to your prostate, then her suggestion was you should do the surgery. There's no, at my age, I'm pretty healthy. Probably not gonna be doing the kid thing anytime.
Right,
So just go for the surgery, which was the radical prostatectomy. At that point, there could be some radiation later on, but the surgery was my best option. Now I had to consult also with the radiology oncologist, who also said, listen, I do radiology, but my suggestion to you is do the surgery. If we have to do some radiation later on, because they want to get they get your prostate, but they want to get all the lymph nodes, of course, that are surrounding it, but you can't
right,
get them all. You get as many as you can. I mean, some of them are attached to nerves or behind nerve tissue or something like that. And, you don't want to get paralyzed just trying to get it all. So they get
right,
what they can get and then do the radiation later. You can't go the other way. You can't do radiation and then do the surgery.
right.
So, because surgery was my best option. That's what we decided. And I did the surgery in July of 22. Um, yeah, yeah. And then as we watched my numbers, um, they started to kind of creep up. Point 0.14 to 0.27 to 0.56, and at that point they were like, no, we got to do the radiation. And I did radiation from February 27th through April 26th of 23.
How many treatments was that? Do you recall?
37.
37.
37 treatments, yes sir.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And-
having to lay on that table for 7 minutes and Monday through Friday, 37 times. So,
mm,
yeah.
mm. And then on mine, mine was if we go back to diagnosis, mine was a little different in that I was diagnosed with two forms of cancer at once. Right.
Mhm.
They knew that my prostate cancer was diagnosed first. So they
Mm,
knew that you've got prostate cancer. This was just a random physical with my urologist, Dr. Masanji. He said, hey, he feels like you got a, goiter in your throat.
mm, mm,
Um, so, well, no, take a step back before that.
mm,
With my urologist, he said, okay, you absolutely have prostate cancer, but it looks like it is also in your spine and in your liver and in your kidneys.
mm.
So, and then of course that was not favorable if that was
Right,
the case for
right.
me.
Hmm.
And so then I had to have biopsies on my spine and biopsy on my liver, biopsy on my uh, kidneys. Came back that I absolutely did have cancer in my spine, not in
Mm,
my liver and not in my kidneys, but they couldn't understand how my prostate cancer could have gone into my spine. That
mm,
just is not how prostate cancer works. It's my understanding it typically regulates to the prostate itself.
mhm, mhm,
So then I had thyroid cancer back in 2012, but as soon as I was diagnosed, had my thyroid removed, and that was that 30 days of thyroid cancer, and I was done. It was painless, simple, no scar on my neck, in and out. That's where
mm,
my doctor randomly said, "Hey, it feels like you got a goiter in your throat."
mm, mhm,
They didn't put the two and two together though. After my original diagnosis, they still were trying to figure out from a prostate cancer perspective. Then I had to be like, hey, if it might not be in my records, but I had thyroid cancer in 2012, and then it was like, well, bingo, then that's what it must be. And then they checked, and sure enough, it was thyroid cancer that had come back in my spine. So I couldn't even be
uh,
treated for prostate cancer until they figured out what they were going to do with my thyroid cancer.
mm,
Hence, I had to take a shot, and that shot main side effects was hot flashes. So, but what it did was made my prostate cancer dormant. It essentially put my prostate cancer to sleep. It wouldn't spread, it wouldn't get any worse because it was detected early
mm, mhm,
while they figured out how to treat me for the thyroid cancer, which was done through radiation. And so I think I had 14 radiation treatments um, for my thyroid cancer in my spine. Um, and I'm still treated for it. It will never go away. It,
mm,
it gets better,
mhm,
but I'll be treated for it, for the rest of my life, essentially. And then they were able to treat me for my thyroid, for my prostate cancer, once they got the thyroid thing under control. It took about 2 years to get my thyroid issue under control. So I had to take that shot maybe 3 times to keep my thyroid dormant. But man, when I tell you I was having hot flashes, like
uh,
when a woman tells you that she's having a hot flash, you absolutely better show much more respect because it is your entire body internally just on fire
yeah, yeah.
from head to toe.
I cannot. Was it Lupron? What was the shot? Um,
Man, Kipper, I could not even begin. That sounds like it might have been it. Um, I
Question.
was so
So
stressed out during that time frame. I'm like, whatever you guys are telling me that you're gonna give me,
we'll go with that.
let's do it. I'm gonna listen to you
Mhm.
because they were right throughout every step of the process. And I had two brothers. As my care team was all brothers except the psychologist, which we'll talk about down the line.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so when they told me that they were going to have to do the radiation, um that's when they explained to me that prostate cancer feeds off of testosterone.
Mm,
So what they have to do in order to do this radiation treatment is to rid your body of all the testosterone, right? So I said, okay, you don't know how important or integral testosterone is to the male situation
right,
until you have to live without it.
right.
Um, Now, when you said the shot, that's why I was asking. They gave me well, there was an option, kind of, sorta. There's the
Mhm.
shot or there's a pill. Now, my insurance would not cover the pill because the pill was so radically expensive.
Wow.
Um, but they would cover the shot, which could come with some cardiovascular side effects. So I also had to do a series of tests to check my heart and make sure that it was okay to do this shot, what's called Lupron, which is going to then rid your body of the testosterone. And it's a one shot every 6 months, provided that your treatment is done within that window, right?
Hmm.
Well, so it's just one shot, and I'm thinking, oh well, I could take a shot. I mean, I've had all kind of shots. I got a bunch of stuff I've had to deal with along the way. So,
Hmm.
man, that was the most painful shot. They have to give it to you in your fatty tissue. So she said, I can either shoot you in your butt or shoot you in your
And
stomach.
that's where I got mine. I got mine in butt.
Okay, well, I got mine in my stomach because
Mm.
I have a thing of, I don't know what it is, but if you shoot me in my butt, I'm gonna faint. So, oh, and I don't, I don't know. It's just been a thing all my life. So anyway, I said, well, just shoot me in my stomach. We'll see. I mean, I've had, appendix and stuff. So yeah, go ahead, shoot me in my stomach. So she grabs the fat in my stomach and pulls out this needle, and it wasn't long,
Hmm.
but it was wide.
Mm.
And I was just like, oh, okay. And she said, yeah, and it's gonna kind of, sting a bit because it's the fluid is kind of
You're
thick.
gonna you're gonna feel a little pinch.
You're gonna feel a little pinch, yeah, right. But the fluid is kind of thick, and so it could kind of burn a bit, and we have to kind of run it slow because
Mm.
again, so
Mm. Mm.
anyway, I go ahead and she does the thing, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, oh that hurts, yeah, oh, right?" And so then she pulls it out, and I'm like, "Dang, that really hurt,
Mm.
bro." About 3 seconds later, I screamed bloody murder, and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on?" And she said, "Yeah, yeah, give it like 10 seconds or so." It was, I mean, it was like somebody like took a torch and stuck it right there. It was
Mm.
just incredibly stingy, I guess the word is.
Wow.
But I get it because this one shot is going to last 6
Six
months,
months.
and it has to do the job of removing all the testosterone in your system.
Hmm.
Now, because my numbers got down after the radiation, I only had to have the one shot. But again, it removes all the testosterone from your system, which makes you basically a eunuch or a middle-aged woman, or I mean, however you want to phrase it. My radiology oncologist says, yeah, you've been chemically castrated, basically.
Mm.
Um, but your testosterone, controls your energy level. My hair growth. I ended up cutting off my beard because it started
Gosh,
getting,
I don't remember that. I remember
yeah,
when you started walking.
yeah. But because I kept pushing through. They said, the best thing to do is just push through. If you can make yourself go to the gym, if you can make yourself, get up and walk and do the things, it will help it come back faster. It has to come back on its own. They can't give you any supplemental
Right,
assistance or anything like that, because then that'll trick your body into thinking that the cancer can come back. And
right.
so, it has to still come back on its own. So that is where the hot flashes came in, because again, your body doesn't have any testosterone. You're going to get all the stuff that the female anatomy would get, the
Yep.
moobs, Lord have mercy, um and the mood swings. I remember cursing this man out at at Costco in the parking lot, and then having to
Mm,
go and apologize because it was just unnecessary. Kipper,
right.
it was a parking space. Um, but yeah, so all of that stuff, but it was all because of this Lupron shot and the lack of testosterone. I'm still getting the hot flashes.
Really.
Yeah, not as
And I,
much.
I was so glad when those things went away. You can't sleep at night. And like when it's warm, I had to carry a towel, a
I
small
remember that.
hand towel, because I literally would be just pouring down sweat everywhere I would go. I couldn't wear pants. I had to
Mhm,
wear shorts everywhere because it
mhm.
was just so overwhelming. And women, I'm crying the blues, but women deal with it every single day.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no, and I've had, all my friends who are my female friends who are my age were like, yeah, now you know. So I'm like, Lord have mercy, this is just unbearable. I still sit in church. I mean, I keep my fan with I'm just coming in from the chiropractor and it's in
mhm,
the other room, but I keep my fan. I still have it because I have one in bed and I have one that I keep with me, that little handheld fan.
yep.
Because I mean, I will turn that joker on in church, anywhere, wherever I am, and I need it. I gotta have it because I mean,
It's literally unbearable for
it.
those minutes. It
Yeah,
is it's undescribable to a you can't describe it to a guy who just can't imagine what it's like to just internally combust
yeah, right,
multiple
right.
multiple
Multiple times a
times
day. Right.
an hour. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? So it was challenging, and then all the other things that define you as no, that
No.
society defines you as a man,
Yeah.
that you have to deal with,
Hmm.
which I probably wished I had. That's the one thing that my care team and my doctor did not tell me about what would happen and what wouldn't happen
The
moving
virility
forward.
issues. Yeah, yeah.
And that was probably the hardest mentally. It still is mentally, challenging to deal with, even though, I'm good, but just, your ability, that's what almost defines you as a dude throughout your whole life is, I'm trying to be
No, don't.
radio friendly,
We You don't have to
man.
be radio friendly. Let's get in the weeds, baby. Put it where the
Yeah,
goats
your
can get it.
your ability to release. That's
Yeah,
like, hey, I'm finished. I'm a man now. Hey,
yeah.
my chest is out.
Right.
But when that goes away, even though you still have the same sensation,
Hmm.
you just are not releasing, and it's still not I mean, it's not the same.
Yeah, yeah. And talk about like because I still don't get an erection. We're
Mm,
a year and a month past the end of my radiation treatment.
mm.
Still don't have any erection. But what's interesting is you do still have the same sensations.
Yes,
You'll have an orgasm, but of course, now that there's no prostate, there's no ejaculation.
right.
Um, so I'm dealing with that, and mentally, that's a thing. I mean, it. I've never, thank God. I mean, I've never been defined by my virility. That's not my, that's never been like my thing.
Mhm.
But yet and still, that is still part of the male experience. Um, and so,
Absolutely. And I'm 31 years married. And so, that that's a lot, that's a lot, man. You got a beautiful wife, spouse, or whatever, partner,
yeah,
however you want to define it, and you want to be the same person with that person that you always were.
yeah,
But those days are over. You can get back to a certain point, but yeah, those, for the most part, things have changed, in particular because you're just not going to ejaculate. And mentally, you know,
that
no
doesn't
matter
that
how
yeah,
great the sensation may be, there's that's the finish. That's the,
absolutely.
that's
So
the
that's the
that's
closer.
that's the band marching in the cymbal.
Yeah, I mean the whole sexual function thing. I mean that's like I said, it defines most men. I mean that is where that's the difference between us and women. I mean, I get it.
Right.
And so that compromising your definition is and that's where, like you were saying, your psychologist kind of comes in because you gotta have somebody to talk to about this kind of stuff. Um, and that's the other part. Men don't talk.
Right.
We don't talk anyway. And now we have to talk to somebody about the most intimate details of our life.
Right. And I didn't even get that deep in with my guy because I was only with him for maybe 4 months. And you got to have the right person as
Yeah,
well. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
I had this white guy out in Kennesaw, part of the health plan, blah, blah, blah. But his specialty was patients who are dealing with prostate cancer in specific. But
Hmm.
my thing was related more to side effects from one of my medications,
Mm.
which was causing me and still to this day causes me unbelievable anxiety to the point where I can hardly even drive sometimes.
Mm.
Right. So I was going to talk about the anxiety that was related to my medications, and
Hmm.
he was literally the worst. Like, no, you are not answering any question. You're answering my questions with questions about my
Yeah.
anxiety. Like why am I going into a panic attack after I cross a bridge that I've gone over 100 times in the past? Now I'm panicking as I'm coming towards it to the point where I can't even go over certain bridges anymore. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I
Hmm.
don't mess with Spaghetti Junction. Not even an
That's
option.
not even a thing,
Like
right?
that. Never.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. I
And
got
and and
you.
then he's like, "Well, you're a good driver, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a good driver." He's like, "Well, bridges don't normally fall, do they?" I'm like, "Dude, you are really about to piss me off.
Right.
You
Yeah.
kind of making me feel like you're not answering my questions about why my anxiety is. You're being more, and I guess that's what the deal is. They want you to understand things in practical terms. Um, but it wasn't anything practical about what anyway. Yeah,
No,
but
no. I
but
mean,
I wish that I would have had someone to speak with while I was from beginning to end. Like someone should that there should be a person for you to speak with as a part of your care team.
yeah.
Your oncologist, your urologist, and then you should have a psychologist. Anybody that's going through really almost any type of healthcare, long-term healthcare issue, you need someone to talk to that's not your friends and that's not your spouse, someone that's going to be able to give you just a different perspective on uh, you know, just dealing with long-term prognosis of an illness,
Hmm.
that in itself can be stressful.
And I think, to your point, I think culturally too, we kind of need someone who understands our cultural experience.
Yes,
Like you said, this was a white guy in Kennesaw, and and that's you're not necessarily going to understand a brother from L.A. or you know what I mean. It's just not your life experience isn't going to associate to the point where you could probably even offer suggestions or I don't know. I just think that, that kind of plays a part too.
it does, man. And it's not being racist racist or anything like that. It is, you really need someone that can understand your shared life experiences if they're going to help guide you through a crisis. And
Absolutely.
make no doubt about it, it is a crisis, and you need someone to talk with. You can't do it. You can't do it on your own.
Yeah. Um, so I know for me, when like I said, there was a period between my testing positive for this Lynch syndrome situation, this defective gene situation, and the
Mm-hmm.
time that I finally went to have my to get a urologist and have my prostate checked and do the PSA exam.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, um, I mean, I had frequent urination. I would stand at the urinal somewhere and it'd be 15, 20 seconds before anything came out. And I had to go bad, but then something comes out and
Mm-hmm.
it's barely anything. It was barely what I thought,
And
nothing.
see, I didn't go through that. And is that so? What are the symptoms? If I'm going through these three, if I'm going through these three things and they're not normal to me,
Mhm.
then I know for a fact I need to see someone. What would those things be?
So, like I said, this urination situation, which I found out was blockage, the way that they showed me, and even in the X-ray, is that my prostate had swollen so that
Hmm.
it was blocking the flow of urination. So yeah, you have to go,
Got you.
but you stand there and you nothing comes out because there's a blockage, right? Okay, so there's the urination issues, and then there's the erectile dysfunction. um you want to get an erection and nothing. It's just not happening, and you're
Mhm.
totally aroused in the whole bit, but it just wouldn't happen. And so that erectile dysfunction also is a indicator something is wrong. You see a lot of
And so
commercial.
you're absolutely aroused. You're in the moment and nothing.
Nothing.
Okay.
And
And is
so
this every time? Because every now and then, look, I might be just tired. You know what I mean? Even though I mentally want to. So is it something that if it's
at that
happening
point,
over and over?
yeah, at that point, again, this is between the time that I tested positive and before I had my PSA checked. It
Hmm.
was every time. It was consistently no erection. And
Hmm.
so you just know that there's something wrong because that's not your normal get down, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this, Kipper. That was COVID time. Were you thinking that had you taken your COVID shot, and were you thinking maybe it's COVID related
Let me
or
say this,
stress
with
related?
the erectile dysfunction thing, for me it was previous to that even.
Oh, okay.
It was previous to that.
Okay.
And yeah, so no, I hadn't really correlated that,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't make that correlation at all. But it just all came into perspective once I found out that I had tested positive for this Lynch syndrome thing. I'm like, oh crap, this is really going on. It's really a thing. Um, so yeah, the urination issue, the erectile dysfunction issues. Um, I would say for me, you said three, but for me it was those two
Those two.
things.
So those are the main two things. So a person that's listening into this conversation, um, one, if you are having issues just going to pee,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's regularly, not
Not just
once
like
here, once there. That's and then what about, is it like frequent it throughout the night? Because seems like I've heard, free
yes, yes,
urination throughout the
definitely,
night with that issue.
definitely throughout the night. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're up 3 or 4 times a night just to pee. Um, and it's 3 or 4 times a night, and then with this struggle pee. I mean, where nothing, you're getting up like because again, you got to go, but
Mhm.
nothing's coming out, and that because that blockage thing is happening, and that does not. It is an indicator of a. Let me say this of a prostate issue. It does not have to be prostate cancer.
Cancer. Okay.
It could be a swollen situation that could be treated with medically, medication. They could give you, or give you something. It does not have to be cancer, but you need to have it checked out, because if it is, the earlier that you detect it, the better off that your treatment options are going to be.
Hmm.
So the more you push it off, the you're going to lessen your treatment options, and probably whatever it is going to have to be intensified.
Mention my
Um,
shirt, man. Mention the shirt.
okay, here we go. Thank you, James. So and let me say this now, because when I first started this journey, and I've been very transparent about it, and um, one of the statistics that we heard was that with early detection and early treatment, there is a 96% survival rate. Prostate cancer is not a death sentence. Even I hear this from my doctors, and they're doctors, so they don't really have the best bedside manner in the world, but they will tell you that if you got to have cancer, prostate cancer is the best one to have.
Hmm.
Because there are more treatment options. There are again, 96% survival rate. You do not have to die with prostate cancer if you get detected early and get into treatment early. There is a 96% survival rate, which is now, and the reason why I kind of chuckled a bit, now 98%.
Mm.
So I mean, it's all about early detection and early treatment.
Yet I'm
Um,
still hearing people passing away. Who was that? Was just a famous musician.
David Sanborn,
Right. I was like,
David
he's
Sanborn,
got to have access to
OJ
health care.
Simpson.
Right.
Yes, yes.
So would you say that even in those cases, it just simply was late detection because there should have been some signs that they should have been paying attention
Paying
to?
attention to now, no cases are the same. Everything's going to be different, right?
Right.
With every single person, everything's going to be different, of course.
Right.
But and there are complications. Let's just be clear.
Right.
Things can happen, and sure, no case is the same. But yeah, Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, right?
Right.
We don't, and with him, things were very, very secret. So again, we don't really know what is going on, or what the follow up is. I was talking to my manager, to Johnny, and he was saying that there was news that there was something else he was going to have to do, further treatment. Well, because we're being very transparent, and I had the surgery and then had to do radiation, that could be what is happening with him. Maybe he's now having to go and do some radiation treatment. We don't know.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, we had another musician friend of ours, a vocalist here in town, Trav Wright, who passed away. It's been about 3 years ago now. And I had heard initially that it was colon cancer. And I know that that can be, much worse. Uh, but then, no, I finally found out that it was prostate cancer. And I'm like, no way. I mean, and he was younger than, I'm 62. I'm sure he's 10 to 12 years younger than me.
Wow.
Um, so again, it's about early detection. And for us, we are, and when I say us, I'm talking about black men in this country, black and brown men in this country. We're not, this country is not native to our genetic makeup. Um, and we're finding out that men who are even in their late 30s are being diagnosed with prostate cancer, and they're only being tested because they've had some indicators, like we're talking about this
Hmm.
urination issues or erectile issues, or they were in the hospital for something else and that got found out or whatever. So
Hmm.
I'm of the belief, and I've been talking to some medical professionals as well, because of our genetic makeup, that we need to be tested well earlier than the recommended 40. um,
Right.
there was a guy on a panel that I just did a month ago who was 39, and a
Wow.
Hispanic gentleman, a Puerto Rican kid, 39. So why aren't we tested at 30? It's a blood test. It's a simple blood test, and that's okay. Just take the blood test. We've been conditioned to have this aversion to medical treatment. There's been, the Henrietta Lacks situation, the
Right,
Tuskegee experiments. We've
right,
been, so I get it. Those are legitimate factors. I don't disavow any of that because it's real. Um, but the blood test for PSA is simple. It's just a simple blood test, and you can find out more there than you can with the RDE, which is the rectal digital exam.
right.
That we yeah, men shy away from that. We're
Yep,
not trying to,
right.
most.
We
Let me
don't
say
want to
this: most men
traumatize anybody, Kipper.
don't want to. I don't want to. I definitely don't want to do
Oh
that.
man. Dude,
But the
I have been just really fortunate in that once I had my surgery, I have been literally undetectable. And my surgery was in 2019.
mm,
No, okay, I was diagnosed in 2018. My surgery was in 2019.
okay,
Um, and I literally only I see my doctor, Masanji, who has been a magnificent part of the well care system. Um, Everything that he told me from beginning to the end is how the process went.
awesome.
Everything this guy told me, he was really encouraging, but everything he told me from the beginning, he introduced me to the rest of my care team. So
Mm.
everybody that he introduced me to then, I still see that, I still see my same oncologist. Yeah, everything that, and I have not experienced any pain. The only real pain that I went through was that damn catheter. Oh God,
Let's talk about it. So,
Jesus.
okay, well, now the
Just
catheter.
take the wheel and drive, because goodness,
So
man.
you have the surgery and you
Mm,
wake up with this little friend,
mm,
um, your little catheter bag.
mm.
Now I had the catheter for 12 days.
Yep, me
I had it
too.
for okay, so for 12 days after the surgery, I had it, and then you go to have it removed. Now, for me, it wasn't painful.
Hmm.
Um, the only part was the incontinence issue afterwards, having to, redevelop the pelvic floor muscles. You have to do all those
Yep,
exercises, the Kegels, as it
yep,
were. The women do them all the time, but we had to do that in order to get your control back over your urinary situation.
yep.
Um, so then you're having to, yes, use Depends. And my friend James, thank you so very much for bringing
Told
up.
you, man.
He said, listen, go get the women's ones because the ones for men are absolutely uncomfortable. They obviously don't care. Um, so, so
Women's
I,
products are made for comfort. Men's products are made for men. Just take it. Throw this on.
yeah. Well, I will say this: they're doing better. I'm still kind of experienced. I will experience from time to time some nighttime incontinence. So
Mm,
I have, I still keep them with me, but
hmm.
they've gotten some new ones that are much more comfortable and functional.
Yeah. And you
But
got
when
variations of them too. You got the kind that you can kind of slip in, just almost like a tampon, guys. Don't
yeah,
that trying to
I
be
don't.
masculine.
You will
You want
miss.
to be masculine, or you can walk around smelling pissy. It's up to it's up to you.
Yeah, I mean we're laughing, but listen, this is a real thing.
It is, and
Keep
you're
keep
gonna do it.
keep two or three of them with you so that that doesn't happen. If you need to go in the restroom and change them out, you can do that. I'm not having I don't fill them up. You know what I mean? That kind of
Yep.
issue.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's talk about it. I've been on stage and had a situation, and that was like early on when I was not knowing how my body was going to respond and that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Right.
Um, and so I was, thank God I had on this caftan sort of outfit. And I'm like, oh, great. I soaked my pants. But I had on something over it. So no, so no
Right.
one knew. But
Right.
yeah, so to keep two or three of them in your backpack or whatever, if you need them. And yeah, they do have those those liners that you can use. Um, I
Yeah,
mean,
and it's a medical
for me, they
issue
don't
too,
really.
guys. You know, I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with masculinity or your
No,
manhood.
no,
It is a medical issue,
yeah,
and you're going to have to figure out the best ways to deal with it. You're going to have to figure out what tools are best for you as an individual.
hmm
But I can say those women's products are much more comfortable than a lot of men's products. But you have to really try to figure out how to address it as more of a medical issue rather than a manhood issue. And
yeah.
it's if
Period.
you're holding on to that manhood issue, man,
Yeah,
it's going to make it much more difficult for you.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely but if you want to live, and here we're talking about,
Say that one
uh,
again, man. If we had a bell, we'd ring the bell.
yeah,
If
well,
you want to live.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because that's the whole thing, and it's not for those of us who have families and love our families and want to be there for our families. That's the issue. I mean, or even our friends. I mean, just for someone else. You don't necessarily have to even have someone else to depend on, but if you want to live, these are the things, and you can increase your quality of life. I'm sitting here talking about the erectile dysfunction piece. It will come back. It comes
Right,
back.
right,
Your urinary incontinence, you can deal with it. It comes back. Um, but these are the things that you have to go through in order to get to the next part. And there is a next part, and that's the rest of your life.
right.
And so that's why we're having this conversation, is to
Mm.
save somebody else's life.
And then if you just have to be manly, your urologist, if you got a good care team, I remember my guy was like, look, if you want to have an erection, I can, it's all kinds of stuff out there. I can get you an erection, but I want you to have a good quality of life, more
Absolutely.
importantly, first. And if
Yeah.
your quality of life is there, then all the other things are going to come back for you. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm happy, I'm good. And then you got to also understand that in some cases it's a medical field and they recommend a lot of medicines to you. Like when for my anxiety, one of the first things this dude was like, I can prescribe you something. I'm like, bro, I'm taking 8 pills now. I don't want to take anything else. And then your friends and family are going to give you all these holistic suggestions and, chew on a bamboo root and all this other stuff that the FDA don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Trust your care team. Get yourself a good care team. Like my care team would even go as far as um, trying to find cheaper ways for me to pay for my medicines and enroll me
Yes.
in different programs so that the medicine didn't cost as much. If you got a good care team, then that I can't say enough how important that
Bro,
is for
you are absolutely right. I mean, there's Mark Cuban's cost plus pharmacy.
you.
Look that up, because they can get you medicines for, I mean, like pennies on the dollar and those kinds of things. So yeah, your care team is ultimately important, and for not just for your personal care, but for information as
Yes.
well, right? So
Mhm.
yeah. Listen, James, is there anything else, man, that I'm missing before we go here? Because I want to make
No,
sure
man,
we
I just
cover
want
all
to
the
to say,
bases.
um, on another level, thank you, Kipper. We have an organization here in the city, the Music Education Group, and we work with young people, and Kipper has always been there for us. He's a call away. Can't say how important that relationship is. You continue to inspire everyone. Congratulations on new music once again. I'm just happy to be able to call you my brother and my colleague, and I know that you believe in this message, like you believe in making sure that our next generation of creators from Georgia understands what it takes to be successful in our industry and what it means to be a good person overall. And, give me a quality person over a super talented asshole any day. And then we
Absolutely.
can move. So I just want to say, Kipper, thank you so much for everything that you do for our music community. It's no secret that you are everybody in Atlanta by far's favorite songwriter. And favorite person because of that. And so just thank you, man, for everything that you're doing. Thank you for putting this message out about the 98%. I need to cross that out and put +2 up. Put
Right.
+2 up there because we want to save people's lives, and brothers are prideful.
Yeah,
And we've got to be able to have really tough conversations with one another, in particular if we know it's going to save someone's life.
absolutely, man. Thank you so much, James. I appreciate you.
Kipper, thanks, bro.
More than you
Be
know.
safe, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
All
Be
right,
blessed.
thanks. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Spirit and Truth. You can subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcasts and follow Kipper at Uncle Kipper everywhere on social media.